to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Thanks for coming on my show today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and join you.
So tell everybody what you do.
Hello, well, my name is David Tangipa. I actually am working specifically on the Measure E campaign. A little bit about myself, I'm from Sacramento. I went to Fresno State, and I do a lot of work locally when it comes to politics.
Is that your main job is in politics, or?
Not necessarily. So when I was at Fresno State, I did an internship in real estate. So actually I work in a couple different areas when it comes to real estate, politics, and I have a rental of my own as well. So, but kind of going from there, is it mainly what I do? Yeah, well, I'm a field representative for Fresno County Supervisor Nathan Magsig. I'm doing this personally in my own regards, not as his representative, just I have to say that. But yeah, I just love working in this area, and I see local politics as something that people should become more active in. A lot of people always want to be in the national stage, but locally you can actually change things here.
Can you actually make a difference? I've always said that, and I always tell people to vote because that's where all the action happens. You want to change what happens in your schools for your children. Like, it doesn't matter people are doing across, you know, because so many people are just unaware. So I don't know how we get people to vote more. How do we get people to vote more?
Well, I think it has to be less of a popularity contest and more of a passionate, you know, what are people passionate for? And I think that's actually what's been lost. There's so much negative and hate around politics, and I mean, this was something that most people didn't even talk about before when it comes to different testy things, that now when they look at each other and they start talking about politics, if you disagree in one area or the next, it's almost like you don't like each other anymore. And I think that's the part where it dissuades a lot of individuals that aren't really interested in politics, that, well, why do I want to be a part of that? It just seems like everybody hates each other. And if we move it to a different one where we actually focus back on local control and then broadening that scope of, hey, this is what you could do for your local community. I like to use Clovis and what Clovis has done as a positive thing that you can do locally that has created a generational change. And what Clovis did with the Clovis Unified in schools, the community there, which is a very conservative community, decided to, you know, levy some taxes onto their property. And then with that, they invested into their children. And so by doing that, they have some of the greatest schools, in my opinion, in the United States. Very well funded, very well ran, and tough oversight over it. So I see if we want people to be more involved in the politics, we should actually bring them back into the fold and get them involved locally.
And then you know, what we try to do in this show is kind of educate people, because I think it's so overwhelming when you get these props, these measures. I mean, you know, you just get the ballot and it's like, it's kind of mind-boggling if you don't know everything that's going on. So that's why I'm so glad you're here to explain this as. And so what is Measure E?
Yep, so Measure E, it's actually it's a way to invest into Fresno State. And one of the main reasons why I really like it is just because, one, I think Fresno State's the diamond of the valley. And it's basically, it's a Fresno County tax that uses, it's 2/10 of a cent. So every single cent, 2/10 of that. So two thousandths of a cent, essentially. But the easiest way to put it is 1 cent added to every $5 as a sales tax. So, and with that, anybody who orders from Amazon that pulls out of the Fresno Amazon warehouse here, whether they're in Madera County, Tulare County, and anywhere else in the valley, actually adds to that. So for every $5, 1 cent of it goes to Fresno State.
How do we know when we order from Amazon what's coming from the Fresno warehouse?
Most likely, it's usually they try to go to the closest location.
So most of the stuff that I'm getting is probably already there in the warehouse.
Exactly.
That's why we're getting it quickly sometimes.
That's why you're getting it quickly, because if they have a center hub, in which they do here in Fresno, anytime you order something that they can say, like, hey, we can get it there by the end of this morning or by the end of tonight. Because sometimes, there was one time I ordered something on Amazon and it was there in 3 hours. And that was because it was at the warehouse. And so those items, so essentially what Measure E is, it's a way to invest into Fresno State. And really it's specifically to invest in the infrastructure. 2/3 of all the money raised from it goes towards academics, 1/3 of that goes to athletics. And with that, we're actually looking at the improvement on the infrastructure from there. And again, I see Fresno State as one of our center hubs. I mean, it's right off of Willow, Chestnut and Shaw, and in between Cedar, which is really in the middle of Fresno, that building that infrastructure around it, we've seen in what other college areas and college schools look like when it comes to growing that in the area.
So was Fresno State not getting enough money? Why do we need to put more money into this?
Well, so if you're looking at Fresno State alone, it's actually the most affordable state college. $3,600 a semester is what our students pay here. So if you look at all of the numbers with that, we're one of the #1 schools when it comes to diversity. We're one of the #1 schools when it comes to affordability. We're one of the #1 schools that here in California, as part of the CSU system, that is actually affordable to everybody. I mean, that would come out to what, $7,200 a year. When if you look at other schools like San Jose State, which a lot of people try to compare us to, or San Diego, or any of these, their prices are, I mean, what we pay in a year, they pay in a semester. And so with that, there are limitations to it. If we still want to be one of the most affordable colleges here in the Central Valley, we do need to make student cost affordable. But we also, there's a downfall to that. We don't always get all the services and everything that's needed. And then also, if you
What do we need that we don't have?
Well, if you look at the campus, Fresno State, we definitely need to expand. So one of the primary reasons for Measure E is, so in our nursing program, is an example that I like to use, 280 4.0 students applied to the nursing program at Fresno State. Every year, Fresno State can only accept 60 in a cohort.
Because that's all the space that we
Because
have?
that is all the space allocated for the nursing program.
okay.
So we can't even expand on that portion, and that's what Measure E is actually supposed to do. The nursing program, ag, our engineering program, and mathematics, and really expanding on a lot of those STEM issues is where they want to build, you know, whether we have a specific college that focuses on the nursing program primarily. Again, when I say 280 nursing, 4.0 students applied to Fresno State, and we were only able to accept 60 of them. That doesn't even include the 3.8s, 3.6s, or anybody else in any other category, whether they're trying to transfer from Fresno City or from another area. That's just yearly. And in the Valley alone, we have over 1,000 nursing positions that are open. So that means out of the 280, the 220 that were left behind, they chose a different nursing school.
Well, and I have another, this is probably getting a little bit off topic or a lot of off topic, but I know one of my close friends is she works at Fresno City College. She's an instructor there for nursing, and she just talks all the time about getting, she's always getting the short end of the stick there, and nobody wants to be teaching because you make so much more money being a nurse than teaching nursing. So it's a very big problem. So if we do put money into this, are we going to put more money into paying the person to even want to teach and not teaching the students to become nurses over being a nurse? Can we kind of leverage where the money goes? Because that's a problem that I see, that I know on a personal issue, is that do we get to vote? Well, okay, now we want them to go to Fresno State, but we want it to go here, here, and here. How do we get to, who gets to do that? Who's the voting committee for that? How do we get to decide that?
So the Fresno County Board of Supervisors actually gets to appoint an oversight committee, and so that's written into Measure E. So anytime there's like a tax initiative like that, there's usually, so you've probably heard of Measure C, and Measure C is the road tax. Well, there's a large oversight committee that oversees all of the money raised, and then they allocate it proportionately through these areas. And it's the same thing with Measure E. So a lot of individuals and people in the general public will be able to apply to these appointed positions. If you went to Fresno State, you have a relationship with Fresno State, maybe you're a tax individual who loves taxes or anything like that, or even an accountant that says, hey, I want to be the overseer for this. You can apply to basically the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors will pick that. But that doesn't even get set until if we know the measure is passed.
Well, that's one person, though. There's not like a committee or people going to vote on stuff.
There will be a multiple committee.
There'll be multiple. Okay.
Yeah. So each district will get their appointments. So it's not just one individual. Usually, and I don't know how it's truly going to be set up, but it's most likely going to be 2 from each supervisorial district that are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So, and that's any person in the general public who lives in their areas that want to apply, and there'll probably be a couple positions where there's members at large or general resident of the area, or maybe there's representative of Fresno State, and they'll allocate it in a way that it's done to where it makes sense. You need somebody that's a part of the program, or that's a part of Fresno State, who understands Fresno State. You need general members of the community.
Right.
And then you need representatives, since it's a county-wide measure.
Agreed.
It's not just the city of Fresno, it's a county-wide measure. And
Okay.
a lot of people are confused when it comes to citywide measures. Like the city has a measure for, it's a veterans tax that they're looking at expanding on veteran services, and then a county-wide tax, which it actually affects every city here in the county. And it's a sales tax. So, but expanding upon that, and when it comes to, like you talked about, where's the money going, and it's all done through a public portion. So there are public meetings, just like the Board of Supervisors have their public hearings.
So do people get to go? Like, can someone like me, who's nothing with it, just kind of go to like listen?
Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
Just like today, the Board of Supervisors had a meeting today, and they talked about various items, and it's the same thing that you can do to the Oversight Committee. And you could anybody could write in any recommendations they have, and then when it comes to Fresno State, it's obviously going to make recommendations of what they want, but it has to be approved by the board. So, and it's just the same as like the General Planning Commission for Fresno County. People make appeals to the Planning Commission. They go, they have hearings, they look at all these studies, and then the general public can weigh in. And that's where, we've seen a lot of neighbors, whether somebody wants to build a gas station on the corner and the neighbor next door is like, hey, that place is zoned for ag, I don't want that. And then they rally their neighbors together, and that's how they speak out for these things. So it's a similar process to that.
So you have a little bit of an interesting history, which makes it more fascinating that you're with the Measure E. So explain to our viewers what your position is.
Yeah, well, I work with the Valley Young Republicans, and I'm a delegate for the CAGOP as well. But with that, I'm doing this in my own independent capacity, and a lot of people and other conservatives are asking, do you support Measure E? And most of the time, conservatives really are against, unregulated, unfettered taxes. And I don't see Measure E as that. I see it as something that it is truly investing locally to where we can see physical changes. And again, that's why I use that Clovis example, or we could use Measure Z as an example as well, where there was a time where the zoo, and a lot of people here locally knew that the zoo wasn't what they had pictured when it comes to a zoo. It wasn't anything like San Diego or San Francisco, and they wanted to be something that was world class. And it was actually the project of an elementary school girl that took it to heart and carried that forward. And I'm doing the same thing when it comes to Measure E. I love Fresno State. Fresno State actually changed my life, and the positions that I'm in today was because of Fresno State, and I am a former student athlete there. So I played football there as well, and then the jobs that they had set up, I'm a 3-time graduate. I graduated political science, criminology, and I got my master's in business. And that unification of how Measure E is set up and the way it's written with strict oversight and what they really want to focus on when it comes to the infrastructure, I see it as such a big investment for the city of Fresno to take it on to that next level.
And so you think too that it'll also just make it to where we can have like larger classrooms or add more classes so that people can get their units to graduate on time? Is that another thing that they're going to kind of focus on?
Hugely. I mean, that's exactly what they want to focus on, especially that expansion upon different programs. And looking at it, I think it's taken almost 6 years for some people to graduate, and sometimes it's taking 8 years if they go to a JC first. Or
yeah, my brother-in-law actually had switched to mine, so I graduated from Fresno Pacific, and he had to switch because he said, well, Fresno State didn't want to graduate me. They just kept on having me in there, and he came so he'd get the units so that he could become a teacher. So that was 20 years ago. I'm sure things have improved, so I don't want to go back on like that, but these are still lingering problems. So. Well,
I would say that if you're looking at some programs, you could see which ones are impacted and which ones are not. And if you're in a major that's, again, if I use the nursing program, 280 want to go to the nursing program. Well, if they weren't part of this cohort, maybe they're waiting another year to join the next cohort. Maybe they're going somewhere else. So where if we could accept 300 nurses in a cohort a year, or at least 200, those are the areas that we could say, well, now we're cutting down on somebody's time that they're spending in college and then producing generally for the public. So,
and then we're going to lose them to essentially they have to go somewhere else. So there's a possibility that we're just going to lose them and they're not going to come back and be a nurse here in the Valley.
We most likely will lose them.
Right.
And that's where a lot of individuals, especially conservative individuals, when they talk about, oh, why should we invest into Fresno State? Well, 80% of the students who go to Fresno State actually are from here locally. A lot of people, and I'm from Sacramento, but and I decided to stay here. I am an example of somebody. I will be here for the rest of my life. I'm not going anywhere else, and I know that for a fact. And it's looking at that and seeing everything that's wrapped around Fresno State as a community, and a lot of people bleed, Bulldog, spirit and everything else that's around, that we see that, and investing in those things and putting in taxes, that is where I understand it as a conservative. I see those, that's the way taxes should be.
And then it cuts down our wait time. So it's like, okay, you're saying that we're going to try to cut down the wait time so students can graduate effectively, on time, and more of them. And then same as us consumers, like when we go to the hospital or whatever, if we have more of a staff, we have more nurses and doctors, then that'll cut down our time. So it does help me as somebody not going to go to Fresno State. I'm still going to reap the rewards.
Exactly, especially if you're going to a hospital that's, we've seen what happened over the past 2 years. There's a nursing shortage of over 1,000 nurses here in the Central Valley.
Just here, yeah.
Here in the Central Valley. So that includes Fresno County, Madera County, Kings, Tulare, all of those, that we can pump out more nurses here that are working here locally. If you remember back in 2020, Fresno County for traveling nurses, there was a contract that they were paying $11,000 a week for traveling nurses because we couldn't get any nurses here. And the main reason why we couldn't get any nurses here is because, well, a lot of people think, well, why would they choose Fresno if they can go to San Diego for $4,000 a week? Why would they go to San?
Right.
They can go
I know a lot of people that rent to the traveling nurses, so I know we have a lot of them.
Exactly. Well, and that's because we have to pay these individuals about $11,000 a week just to come here, when we can actually we should have
them already.
When we should have them here, to where it's a pipeline of saying, like, these nursing positions are open. If you want to fill them, they're directly from Fresno State, and we should produce those students right here. And it's also looking at it from a parent's point of view. We know that there's this grandiose idea of going to school out of state and going to these other areas for college experience. I just went to USC, and I asked them, their tuition a year at USC is $75,000 a year. And a lot of students said if they qualified to go to that school, they're taking out loans, or their parents are taking out loans. When if we can make a premier university right here to where they get everything they want when it comes to a quality of education, the college experience, and the infrastructure to be put around it, that is where I see parents looking at this as like, well, this is less than $4,000 a semester. I could take care of everything, or you can get a job at one of the restaurants.
Well, and then there's also student loan. What's going on with student loans now? Can you add some light on that, since there's going to be student loans, or what you know about it?
Well, with student loans, with this administration, it's a little bit different. I know they're forgiving $20,000 that if you're a public representative and all that, if you meet these certain requirements and all of that. But student loans are different, but that's what I look at as Fresno State, as an area where you can actually work and pay for Fresno State.
That's true.
And get a college education by an affordable one. Something that you can go work at a restaurant that's either nearby, or something that you can go work in an internship that's nearby, or something you can get into one of these programs and actually afford Fresno State, afford the living, and they're building student housing and all that, and they're trying to add to that. And that's also part of it, to where they would look at additional funding for multiple student housing areas, because I tell you this, we need more. And
and they need to remodel some. I've seen some of the fraternity houses recently, and I was like, they could use a remodel too. So all of this will help go to all of that, right?
Just a general area. And anytime that we've invested into a general area, and if we're investing right there in between Shaw, Cedar, and Chestnut, we'll see the differences there. And it's so what's predicted in there's a big economist, I'm forgetting his name right now, that predicted that if doing this, we will add over 20,000 jobs to the local community.
And that's super important. And then, like I said, that's where it helps every single person. That has nothing to do with Fresno State. It will all come back to us in this community.
Well, and that's what I look at. The city of Fresno is the 5th largest city in the state of California. And I think people really need to see that. I think people really need to identify and see that Fresno County is a county of over 1 million people.
Wow.
We have everything here that we want. And we just got to invest into it as a community.
We just got to make it better.
Yeah, and that's what it is if we do it, and I call it the blue collar way. We're here in the Valley. We've got to do it. When it comes to the money into the state, they're going to send it to San Francisco first. It's going to go to LA. It's going to go to San Diego. Then it'll go to Sacramento. And then the Valley gets the rest of it. Well, I look at it like this. If there's an opportunity that we could do it the blue collar way, and we could do it right here in Fresno County, I say let's do it. We did it for Measure C, and now we have 180 the 180 corridor was because residents here said that they wanted a freeway that will get you from eastern Fresno County to western Fresno County.
I'm so glad we have that.
And now we have, and there's a reason why when it looks at and how important, and I believe in Measure C as well, if you're on and you're going north of the 41, you'll see right at the river, the 41 turns into a 2-lane. That is specifically because the Measure C funds do not leave Fresno County. And so that's why.
That's a good point. I never noticed that.
Nobody does. And
love that.
That's exactly where you can see your what taxpayer dollars can do to a community if it's done locally and controlled in a very strict oversight committee system. And that's where, I believe in the Board of Supervisors, that I know all of those individuals personally, and I can attest for every single one of them, that they are true to their core, and the individuals that they appoint in the general community that actually believes in this, we can see where tax dollars work. And if you look at the 41, there's a reason why it bottlenecks right after you get past the river, because that's where Fresno County ends. And that's where increasing these areas and doing that, we'll see the benefit.
Well, thank you so much for coming on my show and educating us. And it's like Measure E for education,
That's exactly it. Measure E for education.
No, I'm all about it now. I had no idea. I'm so glad that you came on today and told us about this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I hope your viewers take time to think about it. They should have their ballots today on Tuesday.
I will vote yes on it.
And I hope everybody votes yes on Measure E.
Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
You have a great story. First of all, I love your videos, your fitness. You're like doing all this stuff. So tell us what kind of challenges you've had to lead you to this point where you're just like, oh.
Well, so growing up, I played sports, and then as I got older, I started having, different health ailments, and I'm not one that'll get kicked down very easily or stay down very easily, and I got sick in probably I guess it was 2012. I got really sick to where I was, they were going to hospitalize me, and then they found out that I was immune deficient. So my body stopped producing antibodies. I have lupus, and so they think the lupus wiped out my immune system.
Did you not know that until you got really, really sick?
No, I knew that in 2008 I got diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
I was having a lot of just constant fevers and breaking out in the sun. We had a boat, and I'd go out in the sun, and I'd have blisters.
So everything you enjoyed doing was bad for you.
Yeah, laying out by the pool, going, yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So I dealt with that, and then it was 2012, 2013, I started getting really sick, and I had these chronic sinus infections, and it was to the point where like my face and everything was swelling up. My eyes were starting to bulge out, and I had strep pneumonia in my sinus cavity, and nothing was fighting it. And they were like, this is pretty serious. And so they were going to hospitalize me, and they said, well, let's try one more test on you. And they wanted to check my immunoglobulins, and they said, girl, you are so sick. And they said, we're going to get you over to a oncologist, hematologist, and get you going on some infusions. So
what kind of infusions?
So I get IVIG, which is intravenous immunoglobulins. So it's basically like 10 to 12,000 blood donors. They pull the antibodies out and they make the immunoglobulin therapy. So you get an IV bag every 3 weeks and keeps me going. And so
when did all this start?
This was like 2012, 2013. And so
Have you been doing that ever since?
yeah, I do it every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks you have to go, and if you don't do it, we don't want to know what happens.
I'm in bad shape, so I'll get sick, like really bad infections.
How did COVID affect that at all?
You know what? I was worried about it, and I ended up getting COVID, and I was fine. And I think because I get the IV therapy, my immune system's so good now.
So now you're probably getting more stuff than the rest of us are getting, right? Because they know what to give you, so you're probably getting more of your vitamins and everything.
Well, my immune system's probably better than a lot of people's now, but
Right.
where before it wasn't. That wasn't the case. But yeah, it's like liquid gold. That's what I call it.
Does your insurance cover this?
Oh yeah, I
thank
have
goodness.
great insurance.
Because if it didn't, that would be terrible.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, but I found out that they have something called Rare Disease Charitable Foundation. So people that don't have insurance, they can
that's
go.
awesome.
Yeah, because of what I do for a living, I found out all these little odds and ends of different channels people can take if they don't have health care or they can't afford it.
So what do you do for a living? So tell our audience that.
So I'm in healthcare and I work for a nursing network. I'm a coordinator for a nursing network, and we actually treat patients like myself. And our patients have over 100 rare diseases and anywhere from immune deficient
You're
patients.
a perfect person for that. You got into the job before you actually got sick, huh?
Yeah. So that was, I always laugh and say I think that's how I got the job, because I told a little bit of my story when I was in my interview to my boss, our old boss, and she loved that. And so I give a lot of patients hope now that are scared, and they think, oh, my life is over. And I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and he was so sweet, and he said, I don't want to do this. I'm mad. I don't want to do this. And I said, but you know what? You're going to feel so much better. Just try to encourage him. And by the time we got off the phone, he's like, okay.
Well, that is awesome, especially because no one thinks that they're healthcare provider owners, and you always think what do you know? Especially when you're getting all this information, and have somebody like you that's empathetic, like, no, I get it. This is what's happening. That's great.
And I don't tell everybody that. It's just people that I know that are really scared, and people that need to hear that. Or we have pediatric patients, and so the moms, dads, they call me. They're scared. They're terrified. They think what's going to happen to my child, and I'll say, your child's going to be just fine. Give it a month or two. And so it's nice that I can give that back to them.
So what are some of the things that we know about this disease? I'm always fascinated by the fact that this is more of a female-related disease than a male-related disease. What's the science behind that you've heard?
The lupus or the
lupus.
Well, it could be both.
But it's more rare for men to get it. More females.
Right, it seems
1
to
in
be.
9.
Right. Joint pain, fevers, unexplained fevers, and it's not like a high fever. It's more of a low grade, like 100.4 to under 101. Mine always ran like 100.6, 100.8 when I'd have a flare up. I'd notice my joints would swell, my eyes would get puffy, and I would get, again, the rash. And a lot of people get the butterfly rash that's across right here, but mine always was on my chest, and I'll get these little red, they almost look like a little blister. Sometimes it looks like a big red pimple. I'll get some on my back, and when I'm out in the sun too much, sometimes I'll get some on my forehead that looks like just a big
Is
pimple.
it hereditary at all?
It can be. In fact, we're finding out, my mom, she has a different form of it. She has a different autoimmune disease. My sister, they're trying to figure out what's going on with her. So I'm terrified of my kids, especially my daughter, because she has some issues, and so I'm watching her very closely, but so far she's okay. But yeah, it's scary to think that it can wipe out your immune system.
Right.
And what I'm finding out is a lot of these therapies that these patients get for lupus or different diseases, it's wiping out, depleting their immune systems. So they're having to now get IVIG, which is what I get, the infusions. So it's like the drug. So you treat something with one medication, that medication is wiping out your immune system.
Wow. Yeah,
crazy?
it's kind of like about good probiotics and wiping out good bacteria and bad. Wow.
Yeah, but at the time you're desperate to get better.
Yeah,
so you're
exactly.
Gonna do
and you don't
the
realize
therapy
it's
is.
counteractive later in the future. Wow.
And it doesn't happen to everyone. It's one of those things.
And,
It's a
and lupus
gamble.
seems to be one of those diseases that affects everybody differently from the little bit I know about it, which I don't know a lot about it.
It does. There's systemic. There is, what is it, discoid lupus. There's, where you get it, just the rash, I believe, or you can get like a condition on like your skin where it doesn't affect anything else. I think there's 3 different types of lupus, but I have the systemic to where it attacked my, well, before they found out I had the immune deficiency, it had attacked my my lungs. And so I got pleurisy, which is the most painful thing you can ever get.
What's that?
So it's where the pleural space gets like inflamed, and it feels like
The
something
middle part?
like down around the lobe.
Right, okay, I
And-
think
and
that getting...
it feels like it's just rubbing against, like, can't even describe
Is it like bad heartburn all the time?
No, it's in your lungs, and
So
when you
it's-
take a deep breath, it
Okay, so it's like where that... Okay.
yeah,
breath.
it's so painful. So then you can't take a deep breath because it hurts so bad. So then you're developing pneumonia, or you can,
Oh
because
my
you start,
goodness,
you
that
start getting
sounds
fluid on your lungs because
terrible.
you're like taking little breaths, and so it's awful.
So then that's gone now?
Yeah.
How did you clear that up?
Well, you just have to rest, take ibuprofen, and not move, and you have to do your breathing treatments like constantly, where you have to blow into, the little ball where you blow into the plastic thing, and it's, to clear your lungs out. I had to do that. Just rest, and then it did affect my kidneys at one point, and I'd lost some kidney function. As far as I know, it's okay now. I haven't
That's
had
good.
issues in years. Yeah, and so I got really, I've worked out all my life and always been an athlete, and then this kind of pushed me harder to stay in shape and to eat clean and healthy. And this last year I really took it to another level.
I know you're doing so much fitness. So tell me where you get all this energy to do all this.
Pre-workout. I have a lot of energy for my age. I guess I do. I mean, I feel tired, but somehow I don't, every night is probably 8:30, 9 o'clock before I actually sit down. And really, I don't watch TV because I go to work and then I go and I train for 2 hours every day. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Unless I have, kids or something going on, but it's all, it's a lot. It's a lot of balancing laundry and
Now, what do your doctors say about this? About how you're staying so in shape with the fitness and the this and that? Are they saying that's what's keeping everything together?
they're amazed. They're like, I don't know how you do it, but they're proud of me. They're like, keep going, don't stop, because I've got off my lupus medication. I don't take anything anymore.
Did any of that make you gain weight?
No, I think being in so much pain at one point that, and not being able to get up and do much because I was so sick, that's probably what made me gain some weight. No, I think the lupus meds didn't cause any weight gain. Maybe the steroids at one point did, maybe 5 pounds, but no, I never noticed a weight gain with that.
Well, have you noticed, so now that you kind of are in this field and you have a community, what do you see about other people's lupus as well? What do they complain of? Is there energy deficient? Is there different things that?
It's all the same. Yeah, they're so fatigued. They don't have any energy, and it's I always ask them too, what are you eating? Because food plays a huge role when you have an autoimmune disease. I remember doing oh gosh, what is that diet where it's all organic and grass-fed, paleo.
Right, okay.
And I felt pretty good on that. I did that for a while. But, you just want to eat really clean when you have an autoimmune disease. Don't eat anything processed. I think that is the worst. And there's actually a diet you can follow for lupus. There's a diet for pretty much everything. I think it's interstitial cystitis. You can clear, that's a chronic condition of the bladder. You can clear that up with a diet instead of taking medication. I know because I have it. So, you can do a lot of things by just eating clean and healthy.
Is it hard, when you go out and stuff, and going out and just if you go on vacation and then eat? Do you feel a difference? Do you notice that you're like, this has brought me back down?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I try to eat, really clean and healthy. I'll try to eat a salad or, grilled meats, I eat a lot of grilled vegetables or just steamed vegetables. if I go out to eat, of course I'm going to have something yummy, and it's not going to be good for me. And then I notice I'm like, I can't get my rings off. I feel terrible.
Wow, you get like bloated right away?
Instantly. Yeah, I can't. Like the other night, I had something, I can't remember what it was, and then some cocktails, and I couldn't get my rings off. I swell that.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I mean,
that doesn't happen to you? I thought that happened to everyone.
that is so funny. Oh my.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think my body's just so used to eating a certain way that it doesn't like it when I eat anything bad anymore.
Wow. So what are some of the other things that you've done? So I know you've done some fitness competitions. Tell us about those.
So I did the Muscle and Fitness, the competition for the cover of the magazine. That was, they do that, I guess, annually. Mm-hmm. And so I competed in that, and I did pretty good. You know, I held first place the whole time with my group, which there's a lot of women. I don't know the number, but I heard it's a pretty large number. So I held first place in my group and moved on to, what was it, the quarterfinals, and I ended up taking 5th place for my group. You know, basically that was based on votes, and then it starts getting down to where people are buying votes, and I had people buying votes for me, and I said, hey, you know, let me just try this. Don't buy votes. I mean, if you want to, you can. People still bought them because they were really rooting for me, and you know, I think if you have a big financial backer and you have a big amount of people following you, those are the people that are going to take the win, and that's what, you know, the winner ended up being. I think she had a lot of followers and probably some big money with those bought votes. And
you did some others too, right?
That's the only one I've done. I wanted, you know, I keep toying with the idea of competing, and I haven't done it because I'm like, okay, I want to do it, but then I don't know if I want to be that strict with my, you know, with my diet.
Right.
I like to go out. We eat out, and we like to go out and have fun. And I thought, man, if I compete, I'm going to be carrying around my little lunch bag with all my prep food. And I mean, I do that now every day, but
yeah, not like
I don't want to do it going out of town. And
right.
So I don't know. You've competed, right?
No, I did the Miss Health and Fitness too, and then made the top 1% of that as when I did that too.
That's
so
awesome.
I know how that goes. I know how stressful that is. So I don't want to do anything else that's even more stressful. I get that.
It is. You're like, but it's exciting, right? It was really fun.
Oh yeah, it was great.
It was fun.
And I love that you can just keep going. And I like your exercise videos. I bet a lot of people find inspiration from you, huh?
I suppose. I mean, they say they do. I don't want to sound conceited and say, oh yes, they do.
But you do some of the hard stuff. You lift some heavy weight. You do some hard stuff. What's one of your biggest like exercises that's just like a big challenge that you do?
You know, squats is a challenge because I've had 20. Well, it was 25, but I think I'm closer to 30 surgeries. I've had so many surgeries.
And this is all connected to lupus or some other ones?
Just my body falling apart. Over the years.
Really?
It's just, yeah, I've been very hard on my body. You know, I've always ridden motorcycles, quads, played sports.
You're just all the way around adventurous.
I am. And so, yeah, I have injuries or something breaks or falls apart. I had a back surgery. I had a spinal fusion, 2 years ago? And so I was in the gym 4 weeks post-op, and I was doing some elliptical and just, you know, moved super slow. My doctor said, okay, you know, don't hurt yourself, don't mess yourself up, and listen to your body. And I did. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to leg press. And I started off real slow, like 10, 20 pounds, and, you know, gradually increased it and just went really slow. But and that was 4 weeks post-op. I had an artificial disc in my neck in 2016.
Why'd you have to get all this? I mean,
well, because so some of this was I have premature stenosis, and that's hereditary, and that's where the disc space, you know, starts closing up. Well, in my neck, it was causing issues with work, and you know, my arms were numb and tingling, and I'd wake up every night, and now I'm waking up that way again. So I think I may need to get another MRI, but it's whatever, you know, I'll get it fixed and keep going. But I think it was just the premature stenosis that caused the neck. And then, so after I had the artificial disc put in, it was 2 weeks post-op. I was in the gym. I was doing real light curls, just isolated movements. 4 weeks post-op from the back.
So
I was in
now
the
you
gym.
kind of, the pressure you put on your back, you're like mindful of.
I am.
What does that, okay.
You know, I was doing, I don't even know what the weight was. It was 100 something pounds. I was squatting and I thought, I'm not going to go heavy. I've come this far. And so I kind of backed off because I started noticing, you know, now my glutes are so tight, I can't get them to release. I'm going in for massages every 2 weeks and chiropractic. And
Right.
it's, I thought, you know, it's one of those things where I'm not going to mess up all this progress and come this far. But, you know, it's, leg press. Leg press was a big thing for me. I got up to 600 pounds, 600 pounds. Well, let's see. I got up to 6 plates on each side. So what is that?
6 times 45. So that's about,
So it'd be 6 on each
that's
side.
three, that's 600. That's about
Yeah.
600. That's very close to 600.
Yeah. So my knees, my knees started hurting. I've had 3 knee surgeries. And so I thought, I'm going to get some knee wraps instead of stopping. I'm like, I'll just wrap them. They'll be fine. So I do wrap them when I go that heavy. But because I've noticed my glutes and everything starting to act up, I've gone backed way off.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
get it heavy
"Oh."
too, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why?
Why?
After you've done it, you're kind of like, you don't need to do it every day. You're like, it's good to have the strength, and then you're like, okay, I'm good. Now we're gonna start doing. Like,
I did it. I'm good. Move on. You
Right,
know,
right.
Just
I
keep
get
me,
it.
Just keep me nice and fit. That's all. You know, I don't need to be the strongest girl in the
well,
gym.
especially now with all this, we never want to be out again.
Yeah, I'll never go back to being like unhealthy. Or I was never unhealthy. Don't get me wrong, but I'll never go back to where I was. You know,
Right.
Just take good care of myself. I've always been fit, but you know, I want to stay at this level.
Yeah, and you need, for your health, you need to. With all, it seems like you're doing all the right things, the best you could do for having this.
Yeah, yeah, and I try to tell people, hey, you know, just get up and move. Get up and move. Try something. Swimming, yoga. You know, whatever, swimming, even just going for a walk, anything,
Right.
just keep moving.
Just keep active.
And especially with lupus, because your joints will get like real stiff and you ache and you hurt. And like, you know, now that I have a sit down job, I notice that my back hurts, and so I get up every hour and I usually, you know, walk to the bathroom or walk, and I'm usually eating, but eating up my meal prep.
But yeah, that happened. I mean, just saying, I'm the person that gets tired doing nothing. That's me, because I'm so active that I'll get tired. I know a lot of people have that problem too. When you're working like a 9 to 5, you have to like get up and kind of move and force yourself after work to work out, because
you do.
You don't want to. Nobody wants to. Your body is not natural to be like, yeah, let's go work out. You have to psych yourself up and be like, okay.
You do. And I'm thinking, you know, like this last 2 weeks, I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm just tired of going to the gym. But I'm like, you got to go to the gym. And I'm like fighting myself in my head going, just take a break. So I may take a couple days off, but then, you know, I'm like, oh, I feel just gross. I got to go to the gym. You know the battle, right?
Right.
You know, all of us fitness people, it's, you know, we're hard on ourselves.
So where can people follow you?
So on Facebook, I'm Jill Herndon. It's hyphenated. And then Instagram, it's _JillyBeans08_. So it's my name,
So
Jilly.
if people DM you to get some fitness advice or talk about lupus, are you open to that?
Oh,
When people want to talk to you about your story?
Definitely. Yeah, I have people reaching out to me all the time. You know, I'll have friends, hey, I have a friend that has this. Would you mind talking to her? I'm like, yeah, sure. Tell her to message me. So, I mean, you know, it's funny because what works for me doesn't always work for everyone else. So at least if they could try something, you know, if I can help them with anything that's worked for me, it may or may not work for them, but I'm happy to help them. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on my show
Thanks
today.
for having me, Sparkle. So much fun. So much fun. Good to see you again.
I know.
I may run into you at another party.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey yo, let me holler at you. You wonder why you always caught up in the same predicaments. You only fuck with drug dealers, gangbangers and pimps. She a real goer, how she grind on that blade. Should've been on the stage, how she walk with them legs. Caramel complexion and she cute in the face. If them boys get behind us, then we doing the race. Got her trained to go, she be tucking the wallet. She see me bust a few plays, but she ain't tell anybody. She a pretty young thing, her body so seductive. She the type to hold me down, ain't fucking with no suckers. Mama never showed her love, daddy he was not around. Always high up in the streets and finally she got turned out. Man, that shit fucked up. Yeah, she been through some shit, so she all fucked up. She fell in love with a pimp, tried to be cuffed up, till he beat her black and blue and left her all fucked up. Damn. Hey, don't you cry, baby. I promise everything'll be alright, baby. Hey, dry your eyes, baby. Let me love you, promise I'ma change your life, baby. Hey, don't you cry, baby. I promise everything'll be alright, baby. Hey, dry your eyes, baby. Yeah. Let me love you, promise I'ma change your life, baby. Little baby chasing waterfalls, bruise on her left eye. She know just what she gotta do. Instead she get high, she broke it, smoking, thinking ain't no chances for the next guy. Infatuated with his looks, like fuck it, what the sex like. Love is blind, don't let this be a regret. Really think about it, baby, next time you could be dead. I'ma pull up, grab your shit, and we gon' head out. He's searching, looking for her, but she resting in my bed now. Yeah, I told you I'ma comfort you. I'll make sure that he never comes and fucks with you. Yeah, you know that I got love for you. I accept you with your flaws, I really fuck with you. I can show you how to love, I'll give my all to you. There's still a lot of things I wanna do for you. You got a place with me and I'll take care of you. She kissed me, then she told me I'll be back for you. Hey, don't you cry, baby. I promise everything'll be alright, baby. Hey, dry your eyes, baby. Let me love you, promise I'ma change your life, baby. Hey, don't you cry, baby. I promise everything'll be alright, baby. Hey, dry your eyes, baby. Let me love you, promise I'ma change your life, baby.
Hey, thanks for coming on my show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us how long you've been doing this, because your jams are awesome.
I've been doing it off and on since I was about 16. I recorded my first mixtape in high school, but I was always on and off with it. You know, always had personal problems and just life situations going on. But
that makes for good music, right?
Yeah, it does. Really, because that's what I use in my songs. Everything I talk about is something I went through. You know, my experiences. But I barely started taking it serious about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, I just went full time into it. It just seemed like I was just hitting dead ends. Every time I tried to do something else, like, you know, I tried to go to college and, you know, went for IT and did other stuff. It just wouldn't, you know, end up working out for me. So I would always go back to the music. And I have my cousin and my friends, and they're like, just do the music, bro, just do the music. Like, you got it, you got the story, you know what I mean? Like, everything. So one day I just said, all right, man, I'm all in. So
I love that. It is hard though. I know it's just like, it's so hard because you have to put so much time into it. I think people don't realize that how much time it takes. And like you said, you're still making a living while you're like doing your dreams. So how'd you find the balance finally in the past 1.5 years?
What I did is I just really stopped working the 9 to 5 and just started working for myself. So when I went self-employed, I started making more time to do it. And then little by little, I'm learning how to make money off of it. You know.
That must have been scary at first though, huh?
Oh yeah.
When you leave your like actual city, I know how that goes,
Yeah, it's just like, kind of like, you know, you're just going all in something and you don't even know what the outcome of it's gonna be, like going in blind kind of. But as I went along with it, I just started learning. I started doing a lot of my own research because I would ask other people and they wouldn't tell me all the details about how to make music, how to upload your songs, get them on, you know, all platforms and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff I just started learning on my own. Or my cousin, he would do his homework on it and tell me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Your cousin's here today, so you have a good little team behind the scenes that kind of helps you out.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my cousin have been doing it since, well, when I started, because I was like 13 and
wow.
It was the first time we had met each other. Because I was born in Los Angeles, he was born out here.
Love it.
So we moved out here, and then our moms ended up, you know, getting in contact with each other, and then me and him met, and he ended up making beats and I ended up, you know, rapping. And
so you guys hit it off. I love that story. That's really cool.
Yeah, so ever since then we've been just making music.
So most of this is about your life situation. So tell us about the song today. Give us the background.
Yeah, the song today was really, it was about a girl I knew. She was a friend of mine, and then I just seen like on Instagram, social media, she was just posting like real like dark kind of stories, you know what I mean, like depressing and stuff. So
oh wow.
I just happened to reach out, message her, ask her, you know, what's going on, and she wouldn't message back. And then one day she just messaged back in the middle of the night. She's like, look, this is what's going on with me. She told me the situation. You know, her boyfriend was, you know, beating on her, stuff like that. I guess he was a pimp. So he had other girls and stuff, but...
And that's why she wasn't getting back to you initially, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She was afraid of him too, and it's like, I was like, I can help you. I was like, if you need help getting out of the situation, I'll help you. I was like, but just promise me you're not gonna go back to that. And she's like, I won't. So I was like, all right, get your stuff ready. I'm gonna go pick you up.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
Yeah, so I picked her up and I took her over to my place. She stayed a couple nights, and I was just like, what do you want to do? I was like, and I could tell you don't want to be here because she didn't want to be in Fresno, period, you know?
Right, that's scary to get out of.
So she, I guess, got in contact with her aunt out in like Oceanside, and then she's like, you can drop me off out there. She's like, I'm just gonna go out there, start a whole new life. And I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. I was like, but if you need anything, I'm here for you. I'm gonna take care of you. If you ever need anything. She's like, okay. So I went, took her, dropped her off. Then eventually, like a couple weeks later, she called me back. I went, picked her up, brought her back, picked up her kids, and took her and her kids back because the kids were with her, with the dad. I guess the dad didn't want her having the kids because of the guy, the abusive boyfriend. And then, so they started a whole new life out there. And then I want to say like a month later, she gives me a call and she sends me like a link to like the news. And she's like, look it, he had a new girlfriend, he killed her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was just like, wow. And it was crazy because the song I had made right before he found all that out, in the song I say, really think about it, next time you could be dead. Because the way she was describing the way he was, I was like, he's gonna end up killing you. So,
And he really did? Wow, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
So he's away now, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
He's locked up, and then so now she can come back to Fresno if she wants to, kind of. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So she's doing good. She kind of kept true to her word of not going back to that life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you helped her out.
Yeah.
You just helped some stranger out online. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't recommend everyone go and do that, but
Yeah.
that worked out, and that's really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been a couple times that I'll see like stuff like that, like women or females posting stuff like that, and I'll just reach out and ask them what's going on, because sometimes we need people to talk to, and sometimes it's like we can't reach out to our own people to talk to, because they're judgmental or we just don't want to tell them our personal stuff. So sometimes it's just easier for us to talk to a stranger because they don't know, you know what I mean, and they're more comfortable with it. So yeah, like I want to say about 3 nights ago, a girl I know, I personally know her though, and she hadn't posted nothing in a while, and I was just like, hey, hope everything's good. And she messaged me back. She was like, everything's not good. She started telling me her situation and everything. And so we started talking, and at the end of it, she was just like, you really blessed me tonight. She's like, I needed someone to talk to, and you were there for me. She's like, thank you. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I understand, because I've been in situations, So that's why I try to help people as much as I can.
You're like the therapist rapper. I've never heard a story like this. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I tell all my friends all the time. I'm like everybody's therapist. It's because I help people understand people. It's like, if you don't know someone's background, how are you supposed to understand them and how to deal with them, So that's something that I always use, like from my experiences. So I could deal with anybody, what I mean? They could be someone that you could say, no, they're crazy, you can't talk to them or anything like that, but for some reason...
You were super patient. I love that.
Yeah, I got patience for sure.
How'd you get that name, Drama?
So the drama came because I used to always get in a lot of fights and stuff like school and all that, but I would never start them. I was the guy that finished it.
I was just going to say, you seem like you're around a lot of drama, but you don't seem like drama, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, so like, and then, girlfriends and stuff that, they always want to play the victim and stuff. So like, oh yeah. My friends would tell me, you're always drama. You always got some drama coming on. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I am drama. And they're like, that should be your rap name. So I went to Instagram and I made that my Instagram
I am
name.
Drama.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can we listen to your music now that you kind of learned where to put it out?
Okay, I'm on YouTube. My YouTube channel is I Am Drama. I'm on Spotify. You could look me up under Drama or search my song up. Apple Music. But on my Instagram, I_am_drama. I have my link tree on there, so that has all my links, my SoundCloud, my Apple Music, everything on there.
So are you performing in areas right now?
I barely really got back into it because
you've been recording the recording part, but now you're kind of going to start maybe performing, doing some lives.
Yeah, I actually had gotten invited out to Germany to go perform. Yeah, well, this song, the guy he had posted this song on his Instagram, and some girl, I guess she's like a model, and all her friends are like real, like, no, they're all verified out there and stuff.
Wow.
And she contacted me. She's like, I'm a fan of your music. She's like, I have a friend that owns a club out here, some two-story like
I
club.
love this story.
And she's like, I really love this song. If you could come out here and perform it. I was supposed to go like in February, but I had so much going on. It was family issues and stuff like that, you know, personal issues.
Is the offer still there?
Yeah, the offer's still there. So I'm thinking about going out for my birthday in February.
Was she going to pay you?
Yeah, and they're paying for the hotel and everything.
You need to go. You have your passport, right?
I haven't got that yet.
Let's do that. It's quick. I can help you through that. I got mine. So like that's crazy, but that's really cool. People are listening.
Yeah, I'm.
You're touching people around the world. That is so awesome.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And you know, that was always my how you say it, my motive. You know what I mean? Was to really just like try to touch people and let people hear my stories or other people's stories. You know. Like my experiences, because everybody has their own story.
Yeah.
It's just all about getting it out there the right way.
Well, that's going big. Usually you start playing in the diviest of diviest places.
Yeah.
No, not like, hey, come to Germany, I'll pay for your stuff. That's pretty funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how it is for me. I might not have that many followers on Instagram, but you know, I've had big features.
Hey, quantity is better. I mean, quality is better than quantity any day, because that's a big get.
Yeah, and I think it's just I learned how to like move around, and I watched everything for a minute, how everybody was, you know, promoting themselves, marketing
You didn't just
themselves.
jump into it. You've been sitting back for a while, waiting.
I just kind of, you know, figured everything out. So I went and got a big feature. I got Game on one of the songs. You know, one of my songs, Fat Joe to promote me. You know, I've had Scott Storch DM me. A lot of big rappers, you know.
So why can't this be the money making job? Oh my gosh, let's stop everything else.
Right. I think that's what it was. Is I held back because I felt like I didn't have the catalog built up yet.
Oh my! I think you should stop. I think you might be able to quit all those day jobs right now. That sounds like let's just go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I got the majority of my fan base is like in Europe and stuff though. Like
that's how a lot of people start. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah, and to me, I always thought bigger. I'm like, everybody wants to be known in just their city. They want to be famous and blow up in just locally, but I started just reaching out.
That is so cool. I mean, hey, just to be big in any country is like a big deal. It doesn't need to be your own. That's awesome.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I just always try to think outside the box.
Well, I love that. I hope that your life like permits for you to like really go out there and do it, not have to be here the whole time. Well, I asked you on because I saw the music video. I thought it was really great. I thought it was really good music. I am very choosy about the musicians I have on this show, because people come on and want to play covers, and I'm like, I want people to have original music, really good. And I know there's talent here, just undiscovered, like you. I mean, apparently they knew that in Germany you're talented, but I do like your stuff. What's some other like content that you have, like some other stories that you have in your songs?
I have, other than that one, I have some personal song that I'm gonna release, because I'm dropping 2 projects. One project's just gonna be more about like all the street stuff that I went through, you know what I mean? And then
were you in a gang?
Never.
So what kind of stuff was going on in the streets?
You know, it's just I grew up all around. You know, like I'm originally from LA, and I was born in Compton, and we were just always moving around. Like I lived like in the project housing out there, Wilmington, Long Beach. You know, I grew up in Selma, but I grew up in like kind of a ghetto area of Selma, where there's always just drama and trouble going on, and it just happened. All my friends always happen to be, you know, the bad kids and stuff. And
how did you get out of not being in gangs?
Friends and family. Like I was always back and forth from here to like Coachella, LA.
Oh, so you didn't stay in a place long enough to get to be with one gang. Well,
exactly.
Moving around, that helps.
Yeah. So then that kind of got me out of it, and then everybody would tell me like, bro, just you're too smart. Like you're gonna do something with yourself. They would tell me that since I was young. They'd be like, you're gonna be somebody, so don't choose the gang life, because that's gonna stop everything for you, and then you're gonna be limited on what you could do and where you could go. So I have friends and family members from everywhere. So I've been all around, up and down California. You know, I have so many friends out on Coachella and family out there, LA, around here in the, you know, Sacramento Bay Area. And then I used to live in Texas. I was in Colorado for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been around.
That is so cool. What a great life. So yeah, that's you gotta be traveling with the music and everything.
Yeah.
So when you do start touring and performing around, are you going to be very vocal about it, like on Instagram, Facebook, and tell us where you are so we can come see you?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be promoting it. Yeah, for sure.
Have you done any shows at all?
Yeah, actually performed here. Was it La Maison Kebab or something?
Oh yeah, I love that place.
Yeah, a while back I had performed there. It was for Czar's birthday. I don't know if you know Czar. I think his family owns that place though.
Well, I've had the people on my show. So yeah. If it's the owners, I know who he is.
They asked us to perform there before, and they actually recently had asked me to perform too, but I was busy doing some stuff. I've performed in Pasadena, a couple other places. It's been like on and off, like kind of spread out. But now that because these last 8 months I just went into like a hiatus or whatever, and just was working on music. So I have like over 100 and some plus songs right now.
So now you're ready to put that
so
out
now I'm
there.
ready, yeah.
So we can DM you if we want you to play at a venue or for like a private party.
Correct, yeah.
That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to keep in touch with you and see what you're doing. You're the kind of person that we're just gonna have to like see where you're at, what you're doing, and bring you back if you're not in Germany.
Yeah, I'm always ready to come back.
And we all need to follow you. I Am Drama on Instagram. And what about Facebook?
Facebook, Daryl Zavala, my first and last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. So everybody, follow the man.
All right.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh I must confess dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.